I come from the t-shirt business and having fashion businesses before Hawke Media, and go-to-market and distribution became a very big topic. Our best investment ever, the guy chased me down in the hall of one of the biggest conferences. You don't do what everyone else is doing, but you got to find ways to stand out. And what is the difference between liquid death and the other canned and bottled water? It's not liquid death didn't succeed because it's canned water. So don't get too much debt, don't take on too much financing, and don't burn out. That's the job to keep a business alive. Now, what people say the industry doesn't need marketing, or I don't get the value in marketing. Well, that's stupid. Highest scaling part of marketing generally is advertising. And so as you get bigger, everything else becomes a much smaller percentage generally. Stop building your business for anyone but yourself, because without you, there is no business. No one's taking over for you. No one's running your business for you. I'm guilty of it and really learned this lesson.
Marketing is broken and the old playbook doesn't work anymore. In a world where AI can build your product overnight, but credibility still takes years to earn, growth now depends who earns attention and trust. Today, we're unpacking how to build brands that actually scale, what founders get wrong about marketing, and how to win in a market where everyone's shouting, but a few are saying anything worth hearing. Joining me at the Tech Leaders Playbook is Erik Huberman, founder and CEO of Hawke Media, who helped over 6,000 brands grow and built one of the fastest scaling marketing firms in America by providing that real growth comes from repeatable systems, now not viral luck. Erik, welcome, man, in a costume and everything.
I like to think of myself as the pirate or the captain of the ship, excuse me.
I like it. Welcome aboard, man. Thanks for being here on a very special episode on Halloween.
Yeah.
I hope this is your Halloween costume.
100%. Yeah. My daughter demanded that I was a pirate for Halloween because she's a pirate fairy. And I was like, all right.
Yes, she should. Yeah, she should, man. We were just talking about how my kids are a little bit older and they don't do this stuff anymore, and it goes like that. So enjoy it.
Gotta savor it. Yeah.
Let's jump right in, man. You've said the moat around technology is shrinking fast. Mm-hmm. What's replacing it, and what does that mean for founders building right now?
Yeah, what I mean by that is with AI, Cursor, Lovable, all these things, like I come from the t-shirt business and having fashion businesses before Hawke Media, and it's reminding me of that where like, you want to start a t-shirt business, come up with a logo, you got a t-shirt business. You want to start a technology now, like come up with what it should do, and you've got a technology business. You can even copy other people, not to like the T, you have trademark laws, but you can pretty much rip off anything now. And so the challenge of building technology is what used to be the moat in technology is like, it's a lot to do. That's going away fast. And it's already gone away in a lot of ways. My favorite is like, we have a little app called Hawkepad, HAWKEPAD, we designed it. It's this little thing. You just type in whatever you want in the app, hit send, and it goes to your own email box. It's like my notepad because I use my email as my to-do list and my contact list. So if I meet you and I go, hey, I can just hand you my phone and go throw in your email. Then when you hit send, it's in my email box. When I sit down and go to my emails, I can just click it, email you, and now we're in contact. Same thing with notes to myself. I hit up my team to see if they could build it, and they came back and were like, it'd probably cost like 10 grand in dev time in 2 weeks. And then I'm like, I don't know if that's worth it. And then 2 hours later, they're like, we forgot about AI. It's done. It's going on the App Store. I'm like, what? So I use that as an example of like, yeah, that's a very simple app to be clear. But we are at that point that, okay, that took 2 hours. Maybe a more complicated one takes a weekend or a week. Sure. But like tech is not where the barrier to entry is anymore. And so where you have to win now is distribution and go to market. Yeah. Because with just like fashion, beauty, all these consumer companies, all of a sudden now software, how are you getting in? How are you selling? How are you differentiating yourself? And it's not because you have better tech, because again, everybody has good tech now. So, and it's quick and you can be nimble. And it's also going to be things, I think a lot of companies are becoming so feature heavy because it's so easy to build these that you're ending up with a ton of I don't know if tech debt's the word, but it's just these platforms are getting too complicated and not just focusing on their core competency as part of how this is working. And so it's causing a lot of interesting things in technology. And again, I go to it and I developed this thesis without trying to put myself in it, where I was like, well, let's take that logical path of if it's easier to build software, so more people are launching software, where is the competitive advantage? Again, it comes from distribution, partnerships, go-to-market, marketing, brand building. I'm thankful that I run the company that does all that for these companies, but that was just we were actually having this conversation. We have a venture fund. We're on the venture side having this conversation of what do we need to now add to our criteria when we're looking at a company, and go-to-market and distribution became a very big topic. And so, yeah, that's really the gist of it. Is I think that having an amazing branding strategy, marketing strategy, partnership strategy, and distribution could be channel partnerships. It could be how you're aligning with the ecosystem. There's a lot of different ways that comes to fruition. But like, we even are looking at 2 deals right now. Both have good traction, both have good backers, but one, the founder is ingrained in the industry they're getting into, and the other one they're not. I'm like, back to go to market, like this guy knows what it's going to take. Like, no, like our best investment ever, the guy chased me down in the hall of one of the biggest conferences in the e-commerce industry at Shop Talk. And its Postscript is one of our best performing investments. And he literally chased me down the hallway. That guy was already ingrained in the ecosystem. So as they started to build, he knew all the players, he knew all the dynamics, he knew what the customers needed, et cetera. If you're stepping into it from the outside, it doesn't work the same way. And so again, even if you have an amazing technology, if you don't know all the right people to partner with, et cetera, you're already at a disadvantage. So that's become a lot more important.
Well, there's just so much more noise, right? We could talk about noise from an investment perspective, because now that it's much, much easier to build a product, and, pre-seed startups have no problems presenting pre-MVP even, and getting big money pre-MVP, there's just a ton of noise. So that's its own thing we can unpack. But secondly, I feel like from a marketing perspective, it's so much easier to like send emails and make phone calls and connect on LinkedIn. And there's a million ways to get in front of people that there is so much noise.
Yep.
How do you separate from a marketing perspective? How do you separate from all that damn noise?
Yeah, you don't do what everyone else is doing. Like that might be like table stakes, like sure, send emails, run ads, all that. But you got to find ways to stand out. And like there's no silver bullet there where it's just like, oh, you do this, and anyone that's selling something that's full of shit. Like there's always new channels. There's always like, that's the job of being good at marketing. I would say 90% of what you do needs to be the scalable, repeatable piece. Email marketing, SMS, running ads on Meta and Google and all that. That is actually a big portion of it. But that's because if you don't do those things, you're not scalable. And then you go figure out, using all those things, how do you stand out? So it's not finding new channels. Like, people jump on whatever, TikTok, Snapchat. TikTok's working great. Snapchat, another story. Reddit's starting to be a great channel. We're leaning into Reddit a lot. Like these are all, GEO has been our fastest growing channel, optimizing to show up on the LLM. So we're doing that a ton. That's been really powerful. And that's always shifting and changing. We see ebbs and flows in our teams all the time like that. But it's how you leverage and what you do, how you talk about yourself in terms of the marketing standpoint, your positioning, your branding, which really comes down to like what you consistently deliver, how you deliver it, how you position yourself, like what do you stand for, what is the emotional attachment to your company. Those are all things that really matter. Like, what are you about? And there's, I was actually just on a panel with the founder of Alfred Coffee, which is like the most prolific LA coffee shop, and the main investor and one of the co-founders of Liquid Death and Dollar Shave Club. Both are friends, Peter Pham and Josh Zad. And when we talked about like what creates a great business, we were talking about CPG in this talk. We were talking about like there's just a vibe. And that vibe really matters in consumer brands of like what is the difference between Poppy and the healthy soda that didn't go anywhere? What is the difference between Liquid Death and the other canned and bottled water? Like, it's not, Liquid Death didn't succeed because it's canned water. And so it's that vibe. This is what I'm trying to say is I think that vibe piece, that brand piece, is going to become much more important for software, because it's going to be like, who do I know is going to have my back? Because like, let's think about why people hire software. It's the emotional reason, not the practical reason. They want to make sure something's just handled, or handled more efficient, or handled faster, or handled better, or cheaper. And these are all things. And depending on where you sit, what is that emotional thing you're solving? Is it visibility, or is it, again, speed? Is it efficiency? Whatever it is, you need to stand for that in every way in your content, et cetera, and really become that partner that you feel like, okay, if I hire these guys, they have that piece handled and nailed, and I have a lot of trust that this is my partner. And again, efficiency or speed or whatever that is, and that you basically present that through your marketing, through your messaging, and through your actions, so that you create a brand known for that. Because everybody's got a brand, whether you like it or not. And so I think it's going to matter a lot more, because what ends up happening is, as you just said, it gets incredibly noisy. The good news is still 75 to 80% of people will only buy through word of mouth and through really trusted sources. And so the rest are called early adopters. Everyone else waits to hear about it. And so what's going to be interesting is if you can get through that noise and you can start to capture market share, then it becomes a walled garden. And that's where your defensibility comes in, is it's so noisy that someone trying to figure out where to switch, it's us in marketing. I mean, there's 90,000 marketing agencies in the United States. And we've had a lot of success because, yeah, you can go try a bunch of random ones, but like the risk of that and not knowing if they're actually legit, like we've got to screw up for that to be a thing you do. We don't lose that many clients to other agencies. We work with SMBs, so we lose them to like other change in strategy. But as far as like, we're just going to go jump into another agency, like it's few and far between. And that's because once you have them, people are nervous about leaving you. And so finding a capture way, and then again, that word of mouth kicks in, that branding kicks in. And once you capture enough market share for someone to come take you out, they've got to identify a pain point you're causing.
Erik, speaking of building trust and visibility and scale and branding and all that, you've built Hawke Media to be a very noticeable brand, which is awesome, in a very crowded field. You just mentioned, talk about commodity type of businesses. There's 90, you said 90,000 marketing firms?
Just in the US. Globally, it's 430,000.
Oh my God. What do you think truly made you stand out? And what specifically did you guys do to stand out?
Yeah.
Early on.
Yeah, I was gonna say early on, I went and pitched ourselves as a digital agency, a performance agency, a marketing agency, whatever, and realized everybody hates agencies because there's 90,000 and 99% of them are full of shit. So every entrepreneur has had a bad marketing agency experience. And so I was like, well, what connotes, like, I'm coming in and being more of like a fractional CMO, and then I'm bringing in the team. So I'm like, I started saying, we're more like your outsourced CMO, and that lit people up. They're like, oh, so you're strategic, you're not just an order taker. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, oh, that's great. I need that. Everyone needs this outsourced CMO. So I'm like, oh, yeah, exactly. That's what we need. I'm like, great. So that was an easy, like, that was our tagline. And then we pitched ourselves as a la carte. So like, we're just going to plug in what you need when you need it. Ebb and flow as your needs change. That felt flexible, which was not, at the time, 12 years ago, not that common in the agency world. It was just kind of like, we're just going to do all this and this is what it costs. And you're going to sign a year contract or 2 year, which was another thing. In the beginning, we were month to month, which was not a normal thing back then. And so it was like, yeah, we don't need you to sign a year contract. We can just get started and go. And then the idea was to keep it cost effective, nimble, flexible, be the best at what we do, but stay easy to work with. And that's, I think, important in the way I define that, because nothing I just said is some like silver bullet, like this was the thing. Your outsourced CMO helps, but like it was more about like being really good was a differentiator. Legitimately, we're in the top 1% to 2% right there. Just by doing what we say we're going to do and being good at marketing, eliminates a ton of agencies. Now, being approachable and cost effective basically eliminates most of the rest, because most of the good agencies only want to work with the Fortune 2000. So all of a sudden, we've got the biggest niche in the world, which is every company other than the Fortune 2000. Oh, and we do work with the Fortune 2000 too. So it's like, so every business in the country can work with us, basically. And it's like, okay, so that's a nice addressable market. And now we just have to perform for them, which we have for 12 years. And so then the reputation goes, the word of mouth goes, and you start to build. And it's not quick. Again, it's been 12 years, one foot in front of the other. But if you really push and again, in the beginning, it was like an agency that actually, and this was actually another piece too. I had sold to e-commerce companies. So I was aspirational to a lot of the companies that wanted to hire us. Like, hey, what did you do? I want to do that too. Great. Sure. And then early clients, we got Red Bull, we got Verizon, we got HP. We had some great e-commerce brands as well. Lulu in Georgia, who's now dominated. They've done amazing and they're great people. And so these early indicators were also things we leveraged to be like, hey, see, and we realized like our job is our business, which, by the way, if it does get that credit in software, is your job too, is everybody knows they need a marketing partner, whether it's in-house or an employee, a contractor, an agency, freelancers, whatever. So our job is to explain why us over everyone else.
That's an interesting thing, right? Because one of the things that's really helpful is to be hyper niche, right? And only cover an area where you truly can dominate. But sometimes, like you mentioned, you can do the SMB and you can do the Fortune 500 or Fortune 2000 or whatever. Mm-hmm. How do you communicate that without kind of, again, being all things to all people?
Yeah, so there's a difference between your ICP and target market and who you serve. And so we target, in the beginning, we were very e-com focused. And we were very digital focused. And then over time, we signed clients like HP Security Software and Verizon on the B2B side because they saw what we were doing with these brands and these performance companies and went, we want that, but for what we're doing, can you think critically and figure out how that would work for us? And we were able to. So then once we did it successfully, then we're able to go, oh, we did this, let's do it for others. And so it expanded organically over time of like, we were able to take what we had at our core, which was really D2C, e-commerce, performance marketing, and expand into a lot more. And then it also came from, we've done a lot of M&A, a lot of, we bought the agency that did all the branding for Prime and Ghost Lifestyle. And so now we ended up, or not now, but then we ended up with a great branding department that had done some amazing brands. And so again, it goes back to, well, why would we hire you over these other people? I'm like, you've got two of the biggest CPG companies of the past 5 years. We built their brand. You sure you want to hire? Who else do you have? And so it continues to be this, how do I make it so it's an absolute no-brainer to hire us over the company next to us? And I think that's going to be a lot of where software sits. It's not going to be as much. And so you talk about niching down. It depends on the company and the niche. I think there's a bunch of fallacies about that. And I feel like that language mostly comes from these charlatan gurus that charge for their courses. And I don't see many, like if you look at some of the biggest companies, like what's Amazon's niche? What's Meta's niche? What's Google's niche? What's NVIDIA's niche? What's, they have a specific product, but like, who are they targeting? Yeah. Anyone that needs their product.
Yeah.
And so I understand that there is some wisdom in that if you're playing small, but like my goal, my vision for Hawke is to be the dominant marketing company in the country for small and medium businesses. That doesn't mean we don't work with big ones, but like that is my focus. So how we build this is really servicing that, but what's funny is you're talking the challenger brand, the growth brands. When I say this, the big brands want that DNA too. They want that more like scrappy, flexible DNA, even though some of their stuff can't be that way. So we end up with a lot of the big guys too on specific parts of the business and projects that allow for that scrappiness. And so I'm happy to be in that world. That being said, I know like a couple great agencies in the legal world that they only do law firms. To me, that creates a very myopic approach where they're just running the same playbook over and over again and like, again, I talked about like 90% of it is that of just writing the scalable, repeatable, but 10% is getting creative and figuring out how to differentiate. And if an agency is only working in my industry, that means they're not pulling from other industries and other influence and other inspiration. And so I worry, that's why I like that my team, they have to think very critically about their platform. Meaning like I'm on, my team is like, all they do is one person will just do Google marketing, just search engine marketing. It's all they do. And so they have to think about how do I use the platform I know everything about to serve this type of company with these goals. And I've seen that result in better results versus I work with just automakers.
Erik, this is an interesting topic for us because years ago when I started HireCloud, we were the LA tech recruiting and executive search firm, right? We were the guys that knew how to get you that brilliant engineer in LA. Yeah. Well, come 2021, we're scaling and okay, now we have a team in San Francisco. Okay, now we're the startup, engineering guys in the Bay Area. Well, after COVID, we went national and we lost a little bit of our identity and we were like, well, we kind of do everything, right? We do the startups and we do the Fortune 500. The way that and now we do go to market as well. And so what we figured out is, wait a minute, HireCloud doesn't have to be ultra niche that we only do AI engineers. No. We are a consulting and executive search firm, and my different teams are the deep down specialists in every category. So that's how I did it. And I said, okay, now what do you major in? What do you minor in? Every team and every recruiter and every whatever BD person was focused on their niche. Rarely in regional, because regional doesn't matter in tech anymore. It's all, most of it is still remote. Half of it is still remote. So I was able to still niche down based on my teams who they serve. We got an enterprise team. We have a go-to-market team. We have a tech team. We have an AI team. So I feel like that was my answer. And I still haven't been, to your point, able to say, we only do AI and that's it. Don't call us for anything else, because I got too many clients that want our support and we love them and they helped us grow. And so I'm not about to just turn down business from great companies, So that was an interesting way how I dealt with it.
Yeah, and similar. I think, and it still comes down to how does HireCloud as an overall business, how do I know I want to call you at first, like that you can serve all these different things. That's great, but you have to figure out like what is the easy way to articulate why HireCloud versus another company like yours, so that other people can talk about you. That's the big part. That's why we call ourselves your outsourced CMO. That's how people go articulate what we do. They go tell other people they're like your outsourced CMO. Great. Like, and we learned that early on. That was what people were saying. We leaned into it because we knew that for the right client, that was exactly what we wanted them to hear.
That's really good. You've built incredible visibility, podcasts, events, partnerships. I mean, I met you because we were both up for a big award at LA Times. You won. I came in second. So congrats. How do you make all that noise actually mean something, right? Because there's so much things that you and I do as thought leaders, and we speak on panels and all this, which is wonderful, but it spreads us thin away from our core business, away from our team, sometimes away from our families. How do you make that count?
Yeah, I think there's different ways to make it count. Again, my job is to continue to build as much credibility for my business as possible. Because, as we get reach and visibility, like, listen, I am not Gary Vaynerchuk with millions of followers on social. So like, it's not that I'm gaining awareness through what I'm doing. I'm more gaining trust. And we talk about this. We have a book called The Hawke Method that's taught at a bunch of universities. And awareness, nurturing, and trust are the 3 pillars of marketing. So awareness, how do I let new people know I exist? Nurturing, how do I then convert that awareness into an actual customer and then keep that customer? And then trust, which is a lot of what we've been talking about. But people don't buy from a company they don't inherently trust, whether that's word of mouth, whether that's testimonials, reviews, PR. Like, you need third-party validation until you build a brand big enough that people just know who you are and have a level of trust. To be clear, trust can be good and bad. They might trust that you're terrible at what you do. You trust that Comcast is going to give a horrible customer service experience. You trust that Zappos is going to be a great one. You trust that the food on the shelves in Erewhon is healthy. It's like trust is, it goes good or bad. And so that when I go and, like, for example, this week I spoke at CAA for a group of Tencent brought a bunch of Chinese executives from Chinese brands out to talk to us and learn about CPG companies here. And so when we did that, there were a few things there. One, it's direct response, meaning the group of brands in that room now want to work with us, because if CAA put me on stage with the founder of Alfred Coffee and the co-founder of Liquid Death to talk about CPG, well, those are 2 great brands and me, and they made me look very credible. So now they feel like, okay, this guy's worth talking to. Maybe we should be working together. He's obviously in the right circles. So there's that piece, that validation. Then you take that and you put it on social and you put it out to the public in our kind of network. And again, it's another validator. Oh, look, if the CAA and these guys, like, it's that third-party validation. If he's sitting there with them, that's something interesting. So for all the people in our funnel and all the people checking us out, and that's just, I think that went, I actually don't know if we posted it yet. Going on social at some point. But when it does, that'll work that day. But then when people are going and doing research on us and they're like, who's this Erik guy? And they'll, here's an image of him with these people. Like, oh, that's interesting. Like, and so for me, it's a constant drum roll of reminding people we're the best at what we do and we're easy to work with. And like, so that when they are ready for marketing, they need marketing, they go, oh yeah, I got to call Hawke Media.
That's really good. You said before, credibility compounds, which is what do they say, 8th wonder of the world?
Yeah.
But it takes time. What does building long-term trust look like day to day?
I think it's just having standards across everything. And I don't mean, like, not everything's high standards maybe, but having things that you like, this is who we are and what we expect. Meaning, and I don't mean that in terms of like bad work. What I mean is, flexibility might be a standard versus rigidity. Like that, it just depends on like whatever those things are and what you stand for, being very clear on them, because what you deliver consistently and what you do consistently becomes the brand. And so to that point of compounding, over time, people watch. Do you take care of people? Are you trustworthy? Do you have high integrity? Do you, again, back to, do you have good customer service or not? Do you deliver on your promises? Do you, all these things? And that all comes from the founder. Like at the end of the day, the culture trickles down and your culture becomes your brand. And so this is where you see, what's a good example? Again, actually, I'm trying to think of someone else. What's been in the news recently that has a kind of shitty culture? It was like, I think the last CEO of Starbucks, which Starbucks is struggling now, talked a lot about like not working full time and like, I'm not going to work very hard, and created a culture in a very short period of time, a bunch of people that didn't want to work very hard. And now you've got Starbucks closing everywhere. I'm not sure that I haven't done enough analysis that that's legit, but hypothetically, like there's a good example. Leadership matters and what you prioritize, because what I prioritize is what I get on my executive team about, which is what they get on their teams about. And it trickles through the whole organization pretty quick. And so I try to be really intentional on that piece, because our culture really has to align with our mission. And so really emphasizing the things that matter and trying to get that to be a part of this culture, so that when I'm not looking, those are the sort of North Stars. That's what I mean about having certain standards. It's like, we answer people within 24 hours maximum, but we should answer as quick as possible. We, are held accountable. We never ghost. We do great work. We also are easy to work with. Like, we're communicative, we're friendly, we're, constantly pushing boundaries and trying to innovate. Number one core value is get shit done. We execute. Like, these are things that but if I don't hold those standards, like if I'm seeing people not get things done and I'm letting it go, you get what you tolerate. They start doing the same thing. Well, hey, when was this? That was supposed to be done this thing. Where is it? I didn't really get to it. I'll get to it in a couple weeks. I let that go. That's now becomes a part of our culture. Versus like, no. You told me today, get it done today. And if not, you better reach out. Obviously, things happen, but you should you think that response versus like the day before, hey, I'm so sorry. There's no way I'm going to get this to you tomorrow. I'll get it done by Tuesday. I'm sorry. Like, we fell behind on this. Like, knowing that that's not just acceptable, as an example. And I'm not saying that my team does that, but those are things like I don't worry about, because my team knows that's not acceptable, nor do I think they believe it's acceptable. And by having that defined of a culture, you also attract the right people that align with that, and frankly, in a good way, scare off the people that don't, so that as you do those things consistently and your team becomes consistent in that, that's what your customer experience is. And your customers then, again, that becomes your brand.
It's funny, when you hear all these things, the first thing you think of is, well, anyone can say these things, and they can.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a service business, it's not about what people say, it's what people do. So, right, sometimes we look for like some incredible
I
moat.
debate that, by the way.
You go ahead, please do. That's why I brought it up.
I think a lot, what I find is our communication and our conversations with our clients is a much bigger indicator of long-term partnership than our performance and our execution. It's not rational. It's human nature. It goes back to confirmation bias. So this is a fun one to play with. I mentioned Comcast having horrible customer service and Zappos being known for great customer service. So with Comcast, if I call them and I have a great experience, I go, oh, at least there's one. If I have a bad experience, it just confirms, and I go, see, I knew they suck. But if I have a good customer service experience with Comcast, I assume that was one exception. Zappos goes the other way. If I call Zappos and have a great customer service experience, I go, see, they're great. If I have a bad one, I go, that person must have had a bad day. Same situation, different judgment because of my trust for what they're supposed to be delivering on. And it's reputation and experience. Yeah, it's confirmation bias is in a nutshell. And so the same thing happens when you're working directly with the client. If they find you trustworthy and they like you, if you're not doing well on a campaign, they're like, well, they're trying really hard. I'm sure we wouldn't be doing well somewhere else. Let's work on this together. If they are doing well, they're like, see, I love these guys. But if they don't like you and a campaign goes bad, they're like, yeah, I hate these guys. We're done. Like, fuck this. And even if it goes well, they're like, yeah, I know we're doing well, but I bet we'd do well with someone else. These guys seem like idiots, or assholes, whatever. So we're going to move on anyways. We've had that happen where it's like we've done incredibly well on marketing and they just go, yeah, but this agency seems a little more creative or blah, blah, blah. And they'll say something. And that specific example, that company is out of business, I found out. So it's amazing because it's not a rational decision, but people aren't rational. They're emotional. And so communication really is key. That being said, you still have to deliver. At the end of the day, the company goes out of business. Like in our business, if we're not delivering on marketing returns, like the company won't survive. So we have to deliver. But I've been surprised to see that the real variable in terms of keeping clients here, it's much more about relationships than it is about work.
Why do you think so many companies waste millions on campaigns that don't move the needle? I mean, it's so common. 80% of the time you hear that, no, man, it was a waste of time. It didn't work. Da, 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 da. Once in a while you hear something like, oh, we're killing it on TikTok. You're like, what? How are you killing it on anything, you know?
Yeah, I think 90% of marketers are idiots, honestly. It's a tragedy, but it's like this is an industry that has no barrier to entry. I don't care what degree you have, what accreditation you have, it doesn't matter. You can just say you're a marketer, and it's really hard to judge if they're good or not. Because the other thing of this, you might have, like, my favorite thing is, we get resumes all the time, and on the investing side, investments all the time, where people put on their bio, like, I was at this company. People love to put on LinkedIn, former Google, former Meta, blah, blah, blah. It's like, this person did not drive the success at Meta. In fact, there's a good chance they did nothing. I just saw, there was a stat I heard last night. This is crazy. They just did a deep study into the FANG companies on the engineering teams. They identified that 9.5% of their engineering teams are doing literally no work.
Nothing. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, literally none. Not like they're mailing it in, they're kind of working. Zero. 9.5%. So if someone's saying that they're from Meta or Amazon's laying off 48,000 people. A lot of people are saying that's a great chance to grab talent. There's probably some diamonds in the rough there. But when I see that, I know it's the nice thing to say, like, oh, they're at a great company, let's grab that talent. I'm like, but that's the people they chose to fire. You don't fire people generally that are doing great unless you cut the whole department or initiative. So it's like, and it's like harsh words, but
you're speaking to the choir, Eric. So
right.
one of the things we dealt with the last 3 years, right? Because we were in a boom for so many years, we were killing it, and we literally couldn't. We were turning down business. We couldn't keep up with how much talent people wanted. And then what happens is these layoffs happen in 23, 24, 25, and you see the tone change to like, well, we don't need you. We got 10,000 people applying, and you should see we got people from Meta, we got from Amazon. I'm like, okay, let me ask you a question. So the guy that's making $1 million at Meta, who was laid off, wants to work for you at $200K, huh? Yeah. Okay. Well, no, they said they would take $200K. Okay, let me ask you a question. Did you ask them about their RSU package? Did you ask them about their bonus structure? Did you talk about the work-life balance? Did you talk about all the resources they'll be leaving behind? What happens is they don't listen. No, these guys are great. A year later, they're like, yeah, they didn't do anything. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Because what these brilliant trillion-dollar companies do is they selected their best people, and they laid them off strategically. Hey, guys, I need a list of all your brilliant people so that we can lay them off and give them to our competitors. Now, you nailed it. There's diamond in the rough. There's brilliant people that have been laid off. Some of them are my friends. And some of them, as good as they are, they're having trouble because they're not as shiny. They're a little senior. They're honest on interviews. Their resume isn't made by AI. But the point is, you nailed it. We get so excited about shiny objects, but the bigger the company you were at, the less you had to do and the less your work moved the needle. You forget that, right? And then you got a bunch of no-name companies. It's like, yeah, what is this? I don't even know this company. Well, that guy helped that company go from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 10. That's the work. That's the real work. So
and I've even struck out with those people, like a senior person that was in the exact role that I have to take a company from our size to another size. And I won't say what this role was, but they came in and like some of the things that came out of this person's mouth after a couple months was like, oh, you had nothing to do with their success. You were along for the ride. Even though you were there in a senior position during that success, even then it's not necessarily the person. So it's hard to find good people.
And we forget also how long it takes for anybody to know how effective someone is at a company that large. Plus bureaucracy and protections and HR and all this. It could be a year, and then they don't know. This guy actually doesn't do anything.
It's that scene in Silicon Valley with all the guys hanging out on the roof.
Eric, you'll appreciate this. I won't name the university, but a friend of mine and I were considering starting an incubator accelerator, actually. And we went to a university that we're always helping and stuff. And there was a conversation where it came up and they said, well, no, we have one. And I said, that's weird, you do? And between me and you, and basically the guy says, look, the person hasn't done anything in 6 years. Literally nothing. I'm like, well, that's not possible. He goes, he's done nothing. Literally, there's nothing. And everything on the website, 1 is outdated, 2 doesn't click. Go click on it, doesn't work. And 3, not one startup has come out of that. Nothing. And I'm like, how did they get away with this? Somehow they did. 6 years. 6 years, accelerator that's produced nothing.
Yep.
It's just unbelievable what's out there. So much
Yep.
waste. What are the biggest lies marketing world keeps telling founders or leaders or anything?
Yeah, ROAS lies is probably the biggest one. Like, oh, we got 20x ROAS and we can get you the same 50x, 100x, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I hate the word ROAS because it's so misleading and
Can you tell us what it is?
Your return on ad spend.
Okay.
So the good example, like what it doesn't account for is sales cycle. It doesn't account for what the long-term benefits of that, what type of returns you're getting, meaning like, is it repeat purchases? Is it new client customers? There's just I hate that metric because it's so lazy. And most of the time when people are talking to me about ROAS, I can immediately assess that they're probably a shitty marketer that thinks they're good is the problem. And so I really try to stay away from the ROAS metric just because it's again, the example I'll give here is usually an average sales cycle for an online company. It's a range, and I can go into more details there, but let's just say it's about a month. So if I spend money today, you're not getting the average returns. You're getting about half of the returns from that over the next month. And so knowing that, if I spend money today and I start analyzing my returns today, I've already made a mistake. Also, if I spend, let's say, $1,000 a day for the next month, and then starting next month, so let's say in November I spend $1,000 a day. In December I turn it off. I'm still going to be getting customers in. Now my ROAS is fucking infinite because if I report it on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, I didn't spend any money and I got all these customers. I'm not doing anything. It's like, that's not how this fucking works. It's so juvenile, but all these like idiot growth hackers love to post these charts of like, over the past week, we've done 10,000 in sales and I've spent $100 on marketing. I'm like, that's because you spent 20,000 last week, asshole. And so it's that kind of stuff that people run into all the time. The good news is, and I've talked a lot about this, is thankfully that only attracts the least savvy operator and a business owner. So it's this funny spiral that they get into where people sell this snake oil, they get the sort of least educated customer to buy into it, and they just burn them. And it's this vicious cycle that they never actually build big businesses, but they keep posting about it. And I've seen this with a lot of people that, over the years, people have added me on LinkedIn and Facebook, et cetera, and I see them posting this shit. And I just watch that, like, you've been doing this for a decade. You still have 3 employees. Like, maybe it's time to change your tune and stop lying to people. Because it turns out having high integrity in this business goes a really long way. It's actually a fun little nuance about the marketing business is if someone's running a really big agency, there's a good chance they're a good person because it is really hard to build a people business focused on serving people and be an asshole. So when I find myself hanging out with my competitors and the other guys that have built big agencies like ours, they're usually great people. I've made a lot of friendships with the other guys that are kind of sitting at the same level because it turns out, again, you have to be a good person at this scale, at this level, working with SMBs and founder-led businesses.
Eric, you talked a little bit about building reputation, building brand. How do you feel about PR, right? Like, how effective is PR in putting the brand, making it a bigger kind of name in the industry, whatever industry you're in? What are your thoughts?
PR is way more about trust than it is awareness. So you said making a bigger name. I don't believe it. It used to. The Warby Parker guys talk about that their big success was when they got the GQ article. That went crazy, viral, got them a ton of clout. Now I would say no one's reading that GQ article, so you've got to take it and run an ads against it and push it out there. Like Hawke Media's best performing ad, we were on a TV show. We have Kings of Barbecue with Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson, 2 actors that we helped them launch a barbecue brand, and we're on half the show. When I got that call asking me to be on the show, and after being like, tell me more about this, because I didn't really believe that it was a real thing. They're like, you need to show up next week for filming. Are you in or out? I was like, oh shit, yeah, I'm in. I thought that could be like a game changer for the business. Like, we're going to be on A&E and on Hulu and with these major actors. Like, this could be huge. And then the first episode came out and I didn't get a phone call, a text, anything saying, even a social media message, like, did I just see you on TV? And they my name is written there. I'm on there. You mentioned before we started this, usually I'm not in a pirate outfit. I'm in a t-shirt and a hat, wearing the same thing I always wear, and nothing. And so I called the team and I'm like, hey, how many people watched the first episode? They're like, oh, it crushed it. We had 200,000 viewers. Like, I've got a TikTok video with 69 million. What do you mean 200,000 viewers? And so what the problem with how traditional PR, even being on a TV show, used to work is everybody was watching the same stuff. So every guy read GQ. Everyone watched the same few channels on TV, depending on your demo. All 18 to 34-year-olds watched whatever Spike. It's like it was just how it worked. And so if you got one of those pieces, the entire demo that they were reaching, you hit. Now, everyone's in their own echo chamber of media with social that you're not reaching anyone. And so how we leverage that now, so how that became a very valuable TV show to be on, we took a clip where it's Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson. They called Damon John and said, hey, we need to build our company. Who do we work with? And he's like, there's only one guy. It's Erik Huberman, Hawke Media. That's your guy. He's like, he's our guy? He's like, yeah, you got to work with Hawke Media. We took that, we made it into a Facebook ad, and now that became our best performing. So it's PR has become
what you do with it.
Exactly. It's become an asset and a trust builder, not awareness builder.
Interesting. That's
Still
really
valuable.
interesting.
Still super valuable.
Still valuable. That's really interesting. It's a good. You're right. I would think what you thought. I mean, everybody's watching their own little like you said, the chamber. Like my son and I try to watch a basketball game, and it's like, oh no, that's not on Hulu. Oh, that one is on Amazon Prime.
Exactly.
And I'm like, what? And then I go on Amazon Prime. It's like, oh, you got to upgrade your subscription.
Isn't it funny? We all wanted to get away from cut the cord, get away from cable, and now we're like spending way more than that on all these.
Oh my god! I think I have 13 subscriptions, and I can't catch a Laker game.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's the craziest
obviously
thing in the
do
world.
just fine financially, but I'm using my brother's YouTube TV because I'm like, I just can't fucking do it.
It's too much.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's too much, man. I can't keep up. And my wife, like you said, we got rid of DirecTV because she hated the customer service.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure. And now I'm like, well, now we have 33 subscriptions
Yeah.
and I can't catch a Laker game.
Yeah.
I'll just go to the damn game.
I will say YouTube TV is great for sports. Like that's why I used it. It's like when I want to watch a game, YouTube TV has been great.
Really,
Yeah.
man. What do you say to leaders that say, well, marketing doesn't work in our industry? Like it just doesn't. It's a waste of money. We're a word of mouth business. You know, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, marketing is for when word of mouth isn't fast enough. So if you're like part of like, and we actually had a long talk about this today with my leadership team, like we're always honing in on clarity of who we're serving, how we're servicing them. And if someone's not looking to grow their business, they shouldn't hire us. You just want to maintain, don't hire us. Don't spend the money. Go figure out like word of mouth. Word of mouth usually it depends on the business. It's hard to see that as a replacement over time. You're probably gonna have a hard time with your existing customers replace enough of your customers unless you're really small and that's what you want to be. And that's fine. I don't judge that. Do whatever you want to do. The most important thing in a business is that the owner's enjoying it. And I mean that sincerely because the businesses only fail for two reasons. The leadership team gives up or they get underwater financially. So don't get too much debt, don't take on too much financing, and don't burn out. That's the job to keep a business alive. How big, how small, that's up to you. But to keep it alive, those are important. So when I find someone that says, I don't need marketing, it's just word of mouth, it's like as long as you're happy with the speed of growth, it's the same. And so then the next step is marketing. And then frankly, if you want to accelerate even more, that's when you do raise money. If you're trying to move faster than you can on your own cash flow, that's why people raise money. And so, but money is expensive. It takes you lose a lot to gain a lot, hopefully, if you use that money properly. And so I actually think like what was cool is I had that conversation with Gary Vaynerchuk a long time ago about, he's like, you're going to get to your goal, whether you raise money now and do it in the next 2 years, or you do it bootstrapped and it takes you 10, you're going to keep going. And I was like, it was like an interesting thought that I took from that. And so when people, again, back to the point, people say they don't need marketing. Now, what people say the industry doesn't need marketing or I don't get the value in marketing, well, that's stupid. We've had that a lot with software companies traditionally where they're like, well, the software will speak for itself. I'm like, that's why every publicly traded software company has a massive marketing budget. Like, stop it. You know, like, it's not a thing. Even like Tesla tries to say, oh, we don't have a marketing budget. It's like, oh no, all those dealerships everywhere and all those big meetings and all that PR you do and all those stunts you do and sending a fucking car to space. No, that's not marketing. Like, interesting definition. You did that for operational purposes to send a car to space. Yeah, I'm sure. So I heard it. People used to, when I first started, tell me, well, Amazon doesn't do marketing. And that was it was this weird, like cliche people said that if you literally they're public, pull up their P&L, you can see the marketing expenses and they're massive. And then
what is the percentage, Eric? What is the percentage of forget these Fortune 500 companies, they got billions to blow. What is a percentage of revenue that a company should be spending on marketing?
It really depends. I mean, it could be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. It could be 50. It could be 100. It could be more than 100, depending on like what stage you're in and if you raised money and how fast you want to move. Again, it's all dependent on how fast you want to grow. They talk about for a profitable company, the rule of 40. You know, you need to be your profit plus your growth rate needs to be 40%. So if you're just doing 40% profit and not growing, that's okay. If you're doing zero profit but growing at 40%, that's okay. It's that rule of 40 thing. And I would say that's maybe a good way to look at it, is that 40% should be a mix of your profit and growth budget.
And what percentage of that should be PR, should be branding, should be traditional marketing, it should be whatever?
Again, really depends. What I would say is 90% of your marketing expense should be on scalable, repeatable marketing, and 10% should be on the not go viral, but the sort of more creative, like how do we do this? But that scalable, repeatable needs a good brand, needs good production work, needs good assets. Like you have the scalable, repeatable piece is not just about spending money on Meta. There are other aspects, but it's hard to say depending on the stage of the company how much they're spending, because this highest scaling part of marketing generally is advertising, and so as you get bigger, everything else becomes a much smaller percentage generally.
How much ROI, if you do it right, how much ROI should a company expect, from a marketing perspective, and how long should they give it, right? Because there's a little bit of a ramp up. You can't spend today and expect return tomorrow.
I'm going to answer the second question first, which is how long should you give it? You need to understand your sales cycle. How long does it take a customer from when they get introduced to you to when they buy? Because then to give it long enough to see the sort of, again, half-life of the returns there and be able to optimize. And usually it's double that sales cycle that you need to give it, because you get to that point of half-life, you see how it worked, then you optimize, then you go through another half-life, you see how that performed, and now you start to get an idea of what the trends are.
Tell me what you mean by half-life.
Well, so the average. So like if the average person buys within a month, that means that after a month, half of your people have bought. That's what I mean by half-life. And remember, that doesn't mean after 2 months, everyone else comes in. It's usually a long tail on the back end, but half of it is on the front end. What is that half? And so let's say, again, it's a month, you run ads for a month. And here's the thing, it's going to be actually, I should take that back. It's more like 3 times, because you kind of need to run marketing long enough and then wait long enough. So you need to run for a month, and then wait for a month to see that all the benefit from that first month come in the second month. It'll take a full month to see that half-life. Then you optimize at the end of that month. Then you wait another month to see all that come in. And so it's, again, 3, 4, and that's what we say, 4 to 6 months is usually what it takes for like the normal standard company to start seeing traction and progress and a trend line. Doesn't mean it's fully performing, because all that optimization can take time too, because that's how long it takes to get that feedback. So when people say it takes time, if they just say it takes time and can't articulate it, fucking run, because some people just use it as scapegoat. Yes. But it truly does take time. And so they need to be able to explain it's because it takes time. When you run an ad, it takes time for that person to convert. Once they convert and we have enough conversions and enough data, then we have to optimize. Then you wait for them to come in. You wait for them to buy. Now we have real data. But that, again, could be 4 months, 5 months, depending on how your purchase sales cycles work.
What if you're looking at a product or service that has got a longer sales cycle, but you still want some triggers, right? You want some notion that, hey, it's working.
Yeah,
how do you do that?
Lead capture. And listen, in the very beginning of a business, like some of what you have to do is just go like, I hope I built a great product and I'm going to act as if I did. Because if you did, all this other stuff works. Like that's the end of the day. It's really easy to market a great product and really hard to market a bad product. In fact, almost impossible. So it's not, a lot of people treat this like a day-to-day, put $1 in, get $1 out kind of thing, or get $4 out. It's not how it works. Like you've got to be building your brand. And a lot of how I look at marketing is like, if this doesn't work, then our business doesn't work. So the problem isn't marketing. It's like the idea that like, Meta doesn't work for my business. Meta works for almost every business. If it's not working for your business, you probably need to adjust your business, not Meta. And so the sort of binary decisions that happen, like we're going to test Google for 3 months and see if it works. There's no see if it works. Make it work. How do you make it work? And that's the mindset you need to go into this stuff with, is not we're going to run a 6-month test and see what happens. It's we're going to start with 6 months and see everything and learn everything we need to make this happen. And if you go at it that way, it's the same thing as starting a business. Imagine if you started HireCloud and your thought was, well, I'm going to go try to get clients for 6 months. And if it's not a booming business in 6 months, I'm out. It's obviously a dumb thing to say. Like, that's not how this works. You commit to it and you will it into existence. It's the same thing with marketing.
There's so many vanity metrics in marketing everywhere. What should leaders actually be measuring in 2025 and 26?
Yeah, I would say ROI and any indicators that give an insight into future ROI. So like if you're D2C and or your e-commerce or your software and you're getting a ton of leads, but maybe your sales cycle's 6 months, then that you kind of asked about that. Like that's where you can start to get a metric of like, okay, like hopefully you don't ramp up too fast so you can afford to wait those 6 months and see how those come through. But you start to get an idea of what are the averages here, of what is our close rate off a lead, et cetera, and can start to do the math that way. So that's one part of the metric. And then it's also like, what is our reach? What is our traffic? How does that convert? You have to understand your funnel in a really great way, because I even look at it this way where it's like, we close however many clients a month and, sign so much business, but I'm also watching, the top of the funnel and how many leads and how many ops and how many contacts we have and how many people are visiting our site and how much our content's going to engage with. Because to me, that's what gives me confidence in the future. All those people that weren't ready to hire us right now, we're now on their radar. We're staying in touch with them. We've made sure this isn't a leaky boat where those people just disappear into the ether. Again, nurturing is a big part of this. And so we're just constantly compounding on ourselves because we're constantly expanding our universe.
If you had to tell every leader listening to stop doing one thing immediately, what would it be?
Stop doing one thing immediately. It's a good question. So any leader, from a marketing perspective or in general?
I mean, whatever you feel like you contribute to.
Stop building your business for anyone but yourself. Because again, without you, there is no business. As a leader, as a founder, no one's taking over for you. No one's running your business for you. And so I see this, I'm guilty of it and really learned this lesson. It is a great way to burn out is to start building your business for other people, whether, for your employees, changing the way you would want to operate because you're trying to placate to something else. Build what you want to run. And that is like by far, I think, the most important thing.
Nice. That's important, man. You got to love what you do.
Back to the point, are you growing and you don't really care about growth? You just think that's what you're supposed to do. So now you're running a business that's way more volatile and way harder to run because fast growth is fucking painful and you never wanted it in the first place, or vice versa. Are you being really playing it safe because you're worried about worried about the risk and what could happen, and you've made promises about the stability to your employees, et cetera, and but you want to grow, but you're like, you don't want to, disappoint someone else. Like build what you want to build.
Yeah. Eric, we earlier you and I talked about, we're both investors. We talked about, right now AI can help you build a product over a weekend, and then you can go and raise on a $10 million valuation somehow with nothing. You mentioned that what you're looking for is it was their go-to-market kind of strategy. I think you mentioned. Tell me a little bit about that, right? Like how do we? Usually I follow my gut and I see how coachable and, investable and scalable the company and the founders are and how willing they are to pivot and all that. But beyond that, let's talk about that marketing go-to-market piece.
I'll use the same metaphor. What if it was a t-shirt company? How would you look at it? What would you, like for you, again, you're an investor. How would you look at someone starting a t-shirt company? What would you be looking for? T-shirts are easy. We can all start.
I would look for scalability. I would look at
scalability
customers. Yeah,
but scalability is inherent. Like you can always scale a t-shirt company. It's not hard to find more t-shirts. So that's not hard. Again, that's what I'm looking at. That's why this metaphor really works. What I'd be looking at is, what are you tapping into that's underserved, and why are you the person to tap into that, and what strategic advantage do you have in that world that you're able to tap into? And how I also mostly like to invest where I can be one of those advantages. So how am I involved in that target that I can be one of those advantages that, we joke about it but like sort of tongue in cheek, but we mean it, which is when we invest in a company, we want their competitors to go, shit, like Hawke Media's in them. Now they're going to be the ones that are going to be pumped up. Like we want that. And so the same thing, I want to see them not just have Hawke Media as an advantage, but other advantages similar to if we invest and we're a partner.
It's funny, you caught me off guard because I wouldn't necessarily invest in a t-shirt company.
That's why I asked. It's like, to that point, not to turn the tables on you, I know it's your podcast, but if you're going to invest in, let's say, what would it take for you to invest in a t-shirt?
It's exactly what you said. I would look for an unfair advantage, and why you and why now? Like, because everybody's doing it and can do it, and we're one. Forget the t-shirt. Most startups are one, AI release away from being eliminated or unnecessary. So it's like, what is special about you, your team, your advantage, basically, your unfair advantage? That's what I look for.
Yep.
Interesting. Very good. Very good. And favorite book, Eric?
I mean, probably favorite that most people don't know is Appetite for Self-Destruction by Steve Knopper. He was a Rolling Stone author. I read that right out of college. It's about the music industry's constant habit of destroying themselves. Like, every time there's an innovation in music, back to the AI thing, every time there's an innovation in music, the incumbents resist the shit out of it and then just go under. So like the people that made records, then tapes, then CDs, like, it's crazy. iTunes ended up owning the music industry. Like, how ridiculous is it? Why didn't Universal or Sony or anyone come up with digital? All they did was fight Napster, and then Apple came in, and now you got Spotify. And so I love that book as an entrepreneur because it's a constant reminder to me that like nothing's sacred, things are going to shift, and you better keep up. And
you better disrupt your own business before someone else does. I mean, look at the Netflix story, right? I mean, that one's still resonating with people. It's like, how did Blockbuster not do this?
And now TikTok is, I'd say, in some ways, disrupting Netflix in a different way. Like it's really hard to spot, that. And when you're in it, I watch it all the time with our clients too, where it's like they're very biased and don't want to believe that it's that. People love stability. Almost everybody wants stability. Stability is a fallacy in a very big way. I joke now that we're like, what are we, in year 6 of unprecedented times? Like, I think we're just going to always be in unprecedented times. And so knowing that, like, you have to lean into it. I actually had this conversation at a dinner last night with a bunch of entrepreneurs where everyone was like worried about their businesses with AI, et cetera. And I'm like, there's a joke that most people know. You've heard it too, I'm sure. There 2 guys are in the woods and a bear comes out and one guy bends down to tie his shoes. And the other guy goes, what are you going to do? You can't outrun a bear. He's like, I don't have to outrun a bear. I have to outrun you.
Exactly.
Same thing in innovation.
Yep.
I don't know what the actual win condition is here, but I don't have to. I just have to be more on top of it than the other people that are scared shitless and not making moves. And as long as I keep myself ahead of that and don't rest on my laurels and get comfortable, we'll be good. And so that is a big one because I don't believe that the entire marketing industry is going away.
Nice.
Yeah.
Erik, one last question. What's been your biggest aha moment as a founder of your own company that's scaled? I'm sure it had ups and downs. And then as an investor, as a community guy, tell me about that. What's been the biggest aha moment over the few years that's changed your perspective?
There's a trend here with what I'm talking about, but it's the business is a reflection of the ambition of the founder. You mentioned it with why wouldn't someone that doesn't need marketing, then they won't need marketing. It's not going to grow. They're not ambitious. I mentioned it with like build the company you want to build. Like the company's going to push if you're the one to push. I was coached a long time ago when I started investing to invest in the ambition of the founder by a guy named Paige Craig. That's a prolific investor. I've known him a long time. And I think those are very true words, both in where you pick to work if you're an employee. Does the ambition match? Because I say it now, like I try to scare everyone away from working here because we're in such a weird, like nobody wants to work environment, except like we have an incredible team here because I scare the shit out of them in the interview to try to be like, don't work here if you don't want to work hard. Just don't do it. You're going to hate it. And we've had people storm out of here, but what ends up happening is the people that end up here are aligned with that ambition. They're like, no, I want that to grow. And same thing we don't have investors on Hawke, but same thing with companies we invest in is like, where do you want to take this? What are you trying to do? And because shit gets hard, you do it long enough, and I don't even that long. Like it could be the second year. I mean, our best investment has had, government regulation come in when there wasn't any. They've had their biggest competitor that raised the most money sue them a couple times and lose. Like you're going to hit fucking headwinds. It's part of it, especially with success. And you got to be ready to run through a wall if you want to build something massive. And so understanding that, and by the way, it's not a bad thing if you don't, it's just important to be aligned. Like the government is a great place to be unambitious. If you want to be, in a government job, I'm not saying all government jobs to be clear, but that's a very good place if you want to find that and go work at the DMV. You don't have to be that ambitious. There's companies that are in between that too, that it's like you can be a little more stable because ambition is hard. Growth is hard. There's constant shit, constant noise, constant things to fight through. So, yeah.
Erik, you brought up something that I definitely want to comment on. It's really good. This whole thing that no one wants to work. The other day I'm in a meeting with a really tough kind of guy, mental tough guy. He's an advisor, and my senior director they're trying to figure out like, hey, we need to hire faster. We need to hire better people. People, don't necessarily want to work in an office anymore, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, hey, how about junior people? And she says, it's funny because junior people, you should see what they're fed in their universities, work-life balance, you shouldn't work. It's all about perks, this and that. And he starts asking questions about our perks and our benefits. And, and there's like, well, we can probably change. I said, stop. I said, look, our benefits are fine. They're good. They can get better. Absolutely. Happy to give those better benefits to my team. Let me make it clear. I am not interested in changing it to get those people who don't want to work. In fact, what it's doing, I want it to do. If it's deterring them away from me, for the love of God, please continue that messaging, because I have zero interest in that. And they were both like, because they went to really smart people that are tough, like disciplined, and they immediately went into, what can we do to improve to get these people? I was like, no, I don't want those people. I want more people like this, and I'll take beautiful care of them. But it will not be for that reason. So I think we have to be ourselves is really key. We play the game a little bit, and they say there's a great saying, right? Tough times make great men. Great men make good times. Good times make soft men. Soft makes hard times. I think soft men have led to this situation we're in, which is this understated recession we're all in, because we played the game. Right? We played the game of the perks and the ping pong tables, and you don't have to come to the office ever, and I have to beg you to work, and I have to give you a promotion because stop those. Stop. That was my aha moment. Anyway, this was great. Big thanks to Erik, founder, investor, and mind behind Hawke Media. Thank you for joining, Erik. This has been great. You've built an awesome career and awesome company, and it definitely beats relying on luck. If you guys want more information, connect with Erik on LinkedIn. Find him on hawkemedia.com and go grab him and work with him and partner with him. Right?
Amen.
Been a pleasure, man. Happy Halloween. Go trick or treat with your family. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. Take care. And that brings us to the end of another great episode of the Tech Leaders Playbook. I want to thank you for joining us and hope you took away some valuable insights to apply in your professional journey. Don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform so you don't miss out on the next great conversation. I promise it'll be good. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate if you could leave us a review. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but also help others discover the podcast. Better leaders mean better working environments. Better working environments leads to happier people. Remember, a rising tide lifts all boats. I'm Avetis Antaplyan, and this has been the Tech Leaders Playbook. Keep leading, keep learning, keep giving, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, stay inspired, my friends.